What is up, Evil Dead fans? This video is going to pertain in just covering every detail that I know of the Ash vs. Evil Dead chainsaws. There might be something I forget here and there. I'm going to go over it really quick. It's going to be somewhat of a longer video. I'm kind of just closing out the Ash vs. Evil Dead chainsaw kind of part of the videos kind of thing. I just want to give you guys as much information as possible. And what I'm going to use as reference is the chainsaw I just finished. And I will cover other details of other chainsaws, basing it off of this one right here. This one. This is mine. This one I just finished. It's that one that I told you I was copying. Oh, I dig it so much. It looks so freaking good. It does. One thing I did pre-record it. One thing I didn't cover is this line right here, this cut. Now, if you notice, it's a severely rounded cut. Not all of them were severely rounded cut like that. Some of them are a little bit straighter and rounded, but this is more of a severe rounded cut right here. But like, I want to show you guys right now, I do talk about the angle of the wrist clamp. You can see it's slightly angled. It's not severely angled like some of them are. Some of them are, but this one specifically wasn't severely angled. Season 1 really wasn't severely angled like Season 2, Season 3, and other various chainsaws in Season 1. But yeah, this is my new personal. And I rewatched the video and it looks like this is all wavy, but it's really not. It's not wavy at all. I just want to clarify that so you don't look at it and go, oh my gosh, what a piece of shit. Sometimes camera views can really throw things off. Like the top handle looks like massive on that video, but it's really not, as you can see. It's not very tall. It's perfectly where it needs to be with that specific chainsaw. And this is hands down the closest Ash vs. Evil Dead chainsaw that has ever been recreated to chainsaw, being chainsaw specific. The other ones I've done are very much just a generalized everything great about Ash vs. Evil Dead chainsaws. So, you know, I prefer, to be honest, you know, this one versus the other ones, I prefer the shorter top, the ones that are cut back and filled in. I do prefer that. I do prefer the more severe bend in the back. But this one is it's chainsaw specific, so it's different than the other ones that I've made before. And I'll cover a lot of that stuff. And I just wanted to show you this just because I rewatched it and was like, oh my gosh, it looks ridiculous on film. But looking at it from this view, just to show you guys what it looks like. Now tell me what you guys think, if you like this Season 1 look. I know some people don't like the pull cord, how it hangs, but I can have to say it like that. And a lot of people tell me they don't like the thinner grill, which I kind of dig it with this chainsaw. It's not my fave, but I dig it. But yeah, it turned out very, very nice. And one thing I need to tell you before I get started is this is a golden oak. Now, when you stain your wood, depending on what kind of wood you have, the colors can change. The wood I use is just generally something I get from Michael's or Hobby Lobby, just one of those 1-inch dowel rods, and split them. And this is a 7/8 dowel rod right here. I try to get similar wood. When you go with somewhat more of a pure wood, it can, you know, golden oak can look darker on other ones or it can look lighter and doesn't want to soak it in. But make sure after you do that, you got to clear coat it. You have to put a coat of clear coat on there. Same thing with this one right here because they were clear coated. I didn't mention that before. But when it comes to like the original trilogy, you don't want to clear coat them. They're not clear coated at all. They're just stained and dirtied up. These ones are more cleaner than the rest of them. But yeah, this is the one I'm going to base everything off of, just to give you guys an example. When this one's fully done, I don't have the bar yet. It's in the mail. It's coming. Once it's fully done, then I will go over that. There is some paint spots I got to fill in here and there to make it accurate. I usually do that till it's completely finished. But this one does have a vertical or a horizontal handle because I wanted to get it as accurate as possible, and then we'll cover why I don't have bolts down here, but this one does have a horizontal handle. But yeah, I dig it. I like it. And let's get to it. What am I rambling about? Okay, the first thing we're going to cover, we're going to cover the overall paint. Now, when it comes to Ash vs. Evil Dead, none of them are exactly the same with the paint. Some are more gritty. Some are more refined and clean. Excuse me. When it comes to Season 1 was really the grittiest look. This is a Season 1 look here. When it comes to Season 2, Season 3, especially when the production started making their chainsaws, they were less gritty. And just simple as that. In all honesty, Season 1 was the grittiest of the look of the chainsaws. Now, when it comes to the paint up here on the handles, for the most part, they were mostly just all black. With just little details here that really were just, you know, it just kind of, either they purposely left some silver detail, or they, it was some kind of accident, it got hit or something like that. You'll see some of them where they have a lot of silver up here and different spots on the inside, the front of the handle, on the sides. And on the back side, for the most part, it's basically black. Same with the bracket here. A lot of times you'll see silver detail in the front here. Some of them don't have that. There's a little silver detail here. Some of them don't have that. Some will have silver detail over here, and then a little bit over here, and some down here. It really just depends on what you want to do with your chainsaw. Okay, next thing we're going to cover is the grill. Now, you'll notice this grill is a lot thinner than I usually do. But this one specifically had a thinner grill. It's somewhat flat and somewhat rounded at the same time. That wasn't constant through the whole trilogy. Some of them were actually a little bit fatter or thicker, I would say. Rounded on the edges, but flatter on the front. I do prefer that look versus this thinner look. But I am a fan of this one. So you get different options there when it comes to the grill. One big thing is body bolts. Body bolts, body bolts, body bolts. When it comes to Ash vs. Evil Dead, did they stay constant with the same body bolts? Fuck no. No, they didn't. Things you'll notice, and what is accurate, is you can do this. This one's very specific. It has one of these 6mm bolt heads right here. And it has the standard Homelite body bolts. Now, you got to remember, with Ash vs. Evil Dead, none of the Homelites were actual Homelite bodies. They were all molded bodies. Another thing you're going to see on some of them is you'll see, let me grab a couple here so you can see. You'll have some body bolts that are like this. And then you have some body bolts that will look like this minus the washer on the back. You'll find, it's like just a hex bolt. You'll find that. Don't mind my fingernail, it's growing back. Gosh damn, it looks so gross. But anyways, I put a drill bit through my thumbnail just to let you guys know. You'll find that especially those hex ones, they'll be here and all the way out throughout the rest of the body bolts. Sometimes over here you'll find this nut, that 6mm nut over here, reversed. Sometimes you'll see that. So when it comes to body bolts, you can stick with the stock ones if you really want to. You can go with just a straight hex head, which is kind of weird on how they installed that, but since there is no flathead style deal to actually tighten them up. But that's something that they did. So you can kind of go buck wild with a little bit, but just don't use any kind of Phillips head style bolts there, because they didn't use Phillips head style bolts here on the other sides. Another thing is the pull cord. Now the pull cord, this one is a non-working pull cord. So I can have it hanging down here. Some of them hung, some of them did not. It's kind of up to your discretion on what you want to do. Like this one's nice. I can even wear it and it'll sit right here. And a lot of times when it's hanging, it'll hang when I'm holding it like that, which I really like as well. So it's kind of up to your discretion of what you want to do for that. I've gone over the measurements of the pull cord at one point or another. You'll notice that this one is stained and clear coated with a golden oak stain, just to get the right look. Another thing is the side handle bolt. Now, I've talked about this before. This one's a hex head, 4mm hex head with a 4mm nut right here. Now, they didn't always do this. Now, if you have a Homelite XL, you'll know that you'll have a Phillips head screw here, or you'll just have one really long one in the back. If you want to be accurate, you're going to have to either put two of them in. You can put that long one into the back and then cut a head off and glue it on here to keep that proper look. If you're going for that Phillips head look versus this 4mm bolt look. So both of those are accurate. You can go with both of those. When it comes to the side handle, they did have some metal side handles, but they're not the stock metal side handles. They were metal side handles that were actually meant to look like the hard plastic handles, the right thickness and everything. A lot of these ones were Miller put it on the end and surfaced to match everything, whether it was slick or gritty or not. For the most part, they didn't really go with a hard plastic handle like the original Trilogy did. What they did is they probably casted a bunch of them, because there are some that aren't metal. I can tell they're not metal right away. So if you're doing an Ash vs. Evil Dead and you want the proper look, the best thing to do is just keep the hard plastic handle and work with that rather than trying to modify a metal handle. Or you can talk to Nick Solmart about getting a handle that was casted, because I know he does sell those. When it comes to the rear hole right here, was that constant all the way through Ash vs. Evil Dead? The answer to that is no. Some of them have the hole, some of them have an indent, which was a molded body later. I'm guessing the production company did, and some of them, one or two of them, don't have an indent or a hole at all. It's kind of up to you if you want the hole, or you want the indent, or if you don't want any at all. It's kind of up to you and what you want to do. All right, next we're going to talk about the rear cuff piece. Now, this one isn't at a severe angled bend. This one specifically was just more of a subtle bend, almost a straight out look, but as you can see, it is somewhat subtly angled down. You'll notice season 2, season 3, and some in season 1, they're more of a severe angle this way. It's kind of up to you which one you want to do. It is accurate to do both ways, and to do it somewhat straight out is accurate as well. Just don't make it too straight to where it looks like it's cocked up. So you really gotta think about that and what you want to do. When it comes to the bolts here, they're all pretty consecutive the whole way. I've actually seen one or two where they have them actually longer in the back here. They just forgot to cut them off. I wouldn't suggest doing that. I would suggest cutting them off or getting ones at the proper length. Because on this model with them longer, they kind of look like ass. So I probably wouldn't do that, just to let you know. And when it comes to these bolts here, I told you before that these ones were cut off and flattened. Some of them weren't. Some of them were actually fitted correctly, where they stuck out just a little bit longer than the nut. But these are also those 6mm nuts here for this one. And remember, when it comes to the nuts and bolts and everything for these, they change so much stuff around. You'll find nuts and bolts where the nuts are over here versus the bolts, and these ones are reversed. It's kind of all over the place when it comes to that. Let's go to the bottom. Let's take a look. Now, if you notice here, I have no bolts right here for the original motor mount, right here. Now, there was a few that did have them. So if you want bolts down there for brackets or whatnot, you can do that. You'll notice a hole here and a hole here. That's something Rob did with his original 6. And the grit is accurate to the only picture I can get that was somewhat close to it was the one where it's sticking in the wall in season 1, episode 2. If you want to go with bolts here, you can go with bolts here. You don't have to do these holes. Not all of them have those holes. Okay, what is next? Actually, I'm reading off a piece of paper too. The wrist clamp Now, this is where it gets a little interesting with the wrist clamp. Now, the wrist clamp, this is that standard one that Rob made with its original 6. Did they keep that constant throughout the chainsaws? Absolutely not. They did not. They actually had a few barrel nut ones to where these weren't even here. These inner barrels weren't here. And it was a thicker diameter of a circle piece here. And I think they must have bought ones that are way too short because the bolt inside of them are extremely long. So yeah, this was not constant. Now, they did not use the Evil Dead style clamps at all. And just a word of advice, if you're doing any of the chainsaws, please don't turn the gosh damn clamp upside down. I see so many people do great chainsaws, but the clamp's upside down to where the nut is up here and the head is down here. Remember, you got to nut up, you got to nut down, not nut up. Nut's always on the bottom, not on the top. Please, God, do not turn them upside down. It's ridiculous. In my honest opinion, you could be a great builder, but if you do that, it just shows me how little you actually know. I'm not trying to put anybody down. It's just something that drives me absolutely up the wall when I see somebody do great work and they miss a detail like that is not minor whatsoever. Other builders look at that and they go, did they even watch the damn movie or did they watch the show? Please, God, turn it the right side. So, yeah, like I was saying, this clamp isn't constant all the way through. So just remember that. Okay, next off, we're going to talk about the top handle. Let me turn this right. No, that was screwed with my eyeball. Looked like crooked. Look, it was crooked there for a minute. When it comes to the wood, you'll notice I call this the ugly carrot. You notice that it has a severe cut this way and not as severe this way. That didn't stay constant with the series at all. There's a few of them to where these have more of an accurate matching cut with the front. So if you want it to match, you can make it match front to back, or you can do this ugly carrot look, which I absolutely despise. I don't know where that came from. Not a fan, but you can honestly do that. When it comes to the top handle bends, this was the bend for that chainsaw that I was doing. You can do a nice bend. Season 2, specifically on their chainsaws, they molded, had a really, really nice bend. Season 3, a few of them for Season 3 looked like fucking garbage. You had one that had a very severe bend this way, and it was straight up and down this way. Not a huge fan of that. I'm kind of in love with it, but kind of not. You know, if I ever decide to do another one, I'll probably do that one. So, just to let you know. When it comes to the tape, not all of them had the split. Some were a constant black tape throughout without the split, so you can do both. When it comes to the bolts, I pretty much covered the bolts already of how some were reversed, changed, things like that. Now, when it comes to the toggle switch position and the top handle position, I have seen it where this one, the toggle switch in this bolt is actually even with this gap here. I have seen that. Toggle switch position, you can see it hugs pretty close to the top handle here. You can actually, to be accurate with other chainsaws as well, you can actually center this up a little bit more. You can show more threading. There is some that show more threading, and you can go that route too. And also this little split in the back, it can be on the front, it can be on the back. They did both. They just kind of stuck it on there. So you can show more thread if you want to, but this one specifically, I could not do that. Let me see. Oh, the L-shape attachment back here. One way you'll know if your handle is right, which I've really never covered, is this L-shaped bracket really needs to be uniform across. It has to be uniform. If it's uniform and it sits right like this, straight across, you're good. A good way to figure that out is to make sure, if you're going with reference photos, the gapage here, especially. If you have too much, you know you're off with your handle here. Also, when it comes to the strap, especially this one, on some of them they were inserted, some of them are over the top of the top. Usually the ones that were over the top were the working chainsaws. And like I said, with cut bolts, some were cut, some were not. It's kind of up to your discretion of what you have on if you want to do that. Now here we go. Here's one big thing, the top. The gosh damn top. If you notice here, it covers that wrist clamp completely here. Not all of them did that. And I really took in consideration of why some of them are different. Some are filled in. A couple of them are not. Albie already pointed out there was another one that did have an open back as well. The open backs were Rob's original tops. And those are the ones that covered the clamp completely. Now, some were cut back about a quarter to a half inch and filled in. Now, I know there's one thing going around with dealing with copyrights from Army of Darkness, things like that. They might have filled it in for that. One reason I think they cut a lot of them back might have been hand room, because if you take a good half inch off, you actually have more clearance than if you bring it back this far. So they might have cut them for that. I have seen one to where they did cut it unevenly, to where this one's in the right position halfway through, and then up here on this side, it is severely farther up. So they angle cut it and just filled it in with goop, and it looks like complete trash. There's some that are refined and look really, really good, and there's some that just look terrible. But I understand deadlines, things like that, especially dealing with a TV show. It's really fast moving versus a movie. You don't have a lot of setup time. So I don't mean to call it trash. It just, some look way better than some other ones that are filled in the back here. So you have a shorter top that goes halfway through the wrist clamp. That's accurate. You can cover the whole wrist clamp. That's accurate as well. And this one is the one that covers completely. One thing I need to mention is this bolt right here. That is not a stock bolt. The stock bolt that comes with those is this one right here. They did not use those at all. This one is very similar to the one I just showed, but it does have somewhat of a body here before the threading, but no little ridges. But some of them did use these ones with the ridges. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's focus in. Let's focus in a little bit. But basically, you can see it's got a little bit of a ridge down here, and it's kind of ridged on the edges. They did use these as well. Okay, where am I at here? All right, I'm just going to keep rolling with this. Okay, muffler bolts. Muffler bolts here. Now, this is the size and everything they use, especially on season 1, and what Rob used. And you can call it a bolt screw. This one's a screw because it goes in the wood, so you're going to want to use a screw. Now, they did use Phillips head sized, or Phillips head screws here and other things. Usually it was either this one. You can find some in the smaller diameter, some in a weird diameter, and also the Phillips head one. So you have options. And yeah, I mean, gosh damn, there's so much of these things. And I'm trying to cover it as fast as possible. Another thing is here, this bolt is missing off of here. You don't have to have it. Not all of them had it. But if you do, you're going to need one like that if you're going to do that upper bolt. And let's go to the front real quick. Let's cover this here. These bolts here, some of them are painted red. Not all of them. Some are painted red, some are not. Especially anything in the middle of season 1 and after are really all painted. Some are not, though. I mean, they kind of swap back and forth between chainsaws. The placement of the holes, I've seen some where they're just a little bit higher than this. And it's either this placement or a little bit higher. This one specifically did not have painted bolts. So there's a lot of different options. There's a ton of them. Also, with your top, you can actually have it shorter. I've seen them where they're shorter down here. I've seen them where they're just a little bit taller. And in all reality, the one I'm copying, this top is about a 1/16 of an inch short of being exact. And it wasn't enough for me to actually tear this thing apart and do a brand new top, because I'm like, no, not gonna fucking do it. But you can make it shorter and you can make it taller, but not too much taller. Don't make it look like a loaf of bread. And what I mean by a loaf of bread is where your top is like this damn tall. That's a loaf of bread. You want it to get it to where basically at the most, it's right there. At the absolute most. About a 1/16 of an inch higher than this top. But really that's it. I mean, I've covered a ton of stuff really quick for you guys. If you have any specific questions and you want to just get into it a little more in depth, I'm trying to cover everything and it can be tough to do. There's just so much I'm trying to cover all at one time. So there it is right there. That's all the different details. Like I said, just an overview. Nuts and bolts change, positioning changes, body bolts. I told you everything about that. Cuff position can actually angle down further. It can be subtle. Those bolts can change when it comes to the paint. Season 1 was always the darkest. And actually has more silver detail than any of them. I didn't say that before. Season 1 has the most silver detail of all the chainsaws. The grills. You can have a thicker grill that's flatter and rounded on the edges. You can't have that. That is accurate as well. And the tape does not have to be with a split. It can be consecutive all the way through. This side can actually match this side with the angle. You have a lot of options, people. Take advantage of that. If you want to do an Ash vs. Evil Dead and you want to knock that shit out of the park, you can. There is every way to do that. You can leave it open in the back. If you leave it open in the back, make sure it's extended like this. If you close it in, you can drop it back halfway on that wrist cuff piece to basically right here and angle it and fill it in. But I hope that helped you guys out. This is a longer video than usually what I do. If there's any details I've left out, please contact me and say, hey, I'm doing this. Is this accurate for Ash vs. Evil Dead? Let me know in the comments or private message me on Facebook or Instagram or Messenger. So until next time, guys, you stay groovy.